This right here is a bit of a story time and also my thoughts on somebody that I know, and going to be giving some examples and telling a bit of stories in this video that not only relate to this case but also takes me back to several other cases. You know, I lived in this town for so long, I do know its bad secrets that a lot of people don't know about, because over time a lot of original people that live in this town no longer here, so we have a lot of newcomers. And they don't know, and this town is ashamed of a lot of its dark history and its secrets. What I'm going to be reading off of, I'm going to be reading off to the best of my abilities. Please keep in mind, I am dyslexic, so some of these words I can't pronounce as well. And I know this person, and I will get into the story right here. This is a story that's not really too much famous or people heard about, but it goes into one of the reasons why this place of business got shut down. I'm going to read what's on here. Halfway. And if you guys would like to look this up for yourself, you guys can. I believe it might be on the internet. I don't know how public it is. Domestic of abuse charges for murder suspect. A man charged with first-degree murder after alleged shooting his girlfriend was placed on probation about a month earlier for domestic assault against her. One of the several assaults related includes that the court documents included as far back as 1998. So he has a history of this since 98. And obviously they've been together since almost, like, what, 2 decades, right? 20 years plus another 20. So you have that. Johnny Lee Fleming the fifth, 1 in a 5, who is this man right here. Age 37, was arrested on Thursday after finding a Toyota Mae Thompson's body at Columbia home. Fleming and Thompson shared. He was arrested at the residence and being held at Maury County Jail with no bond. I remember that night of that shooting. I do. She was already good with customers, said Cody Murphy, the general manager at Columbia Pizza Hut. Thompson, 35, worked for about 2 months. She was 30 days from being manager here. She seemed thrilled about that. Murphy said Thompson never indicated to co-workers that she may have been in a violent relationship. I wish I had known, he said. Fleming was ordered by the court to enroll in domestic violence classes at Time for Change Community Service. I was there. When I mean I was there, I'm talking about myself. A program after he pleaded guilty to domestic violence charges July 27th, said Kaylee with Time for Change. He was sentenced to 11 months and 29 days probation, 10 days suspended jail time for violating his bond terms, and was ordered to forfeit his firearms. He did not enroll in the request of 20 weeks, included, of course, with a no-contact order between Thompson and Fleming, was something per was on the request of Thompson's request. Again, I'm not going to get into most of it, but this history for him, goes on since 1998. When he was first locked up, he got locked up in the smaller holding blocks, which was for your petty crimes where you wear green and white. That was my second time getting locked up, and this happened to take place in 2011. Now, this is where we get into the story time on my point of view from what I saw, from what I know. I think he came in maybe a day later. I was already doing my time. I think this guy came in a day later. We all asked him, of course, when you get locked up, for those that had never been locked up before, when you go in there, you're gonna be having people hollering and hooting at you, and fresh meat, fresh fish, right? In other words, saying, welcome to the jail. And of course, everyone's gonna be nosy. So we're gonna ask you what you in for. He didn't say he was in there for domestic abuse. He was in there for, I think, alcohol or something to do with public intoxication. So nobody knew about the domestic abuse. Nobody knew. And about, I don't want to say a month later, but it, as you guys read, about a couple weeks later to a month later, he was supposed to enroll in domestic abuse class called Time for Change that I was a part of. It's about a 6-month-a-year class. It takes place every Wednesday. You pay $20, of course. And the night when this murder took place, it was me and my ex-best friend, and we were cutting through a neighborhood, literally right next to this neighborhood where the shooting took place, that I would live quite close to as well. We hear what sounded like gunshots. So we're stopping because we don't know which direction this is coming from. Because we don't know what direction this is coming from, we said, okay, let's hold still, wait, we hear sirens, okay. He goes one way because he lives nowhere close to where this is taking place, so he was good. I had needed to wait for my own good, for my own safety, because I don't know what was going on. Once everything has stopped, I went home, and then about a week later, the teacher gives us his transcripts and shares, like, why not only women but men should also be careful going into relationships. And I'd done a video about why women should change their mindsets, before and during relationships. And I give this story in that video as an example that I will link down in the description below. But her body was found right behind Pizza Hut. Right behind there. And I do know a good bit about this town's dark history, its dark secrets, that it's ashamed of, and a lot of things that it erased from its past that they want nobody to know about. I consider myself the last real Colombian, the last real historical person who knows just things that I should not know, but I do, per se. And a lot of the newer people, they don't know. They only know about what they hear from a fifth-party person or rumors. And again, I can do videos all day, every day, story times, really explaining, debunking a lot of things as well. But, again, there's a lot that I know that could even get me in trouble. And so I will share some stories, some of its secrets here in this video that do relate to things like this. And I'm going to go back to definitely the late 90s, right? The next, something that can relate to this, I remember a story that took place definitely in the late 90s. There was a couple, they had issues, obviously. And this man, he killed, I think it was his girlfriend, and she used to work at the Captain D's. and he dumped her body not just behind the building but close to the dumpster can. I remember seeing photos of what this person looked like in the car that he would drive, and it would be one of those box Chevy cars that would have those cartoon cereal box designs on them with the big ass rims. One thing that can come close to this as well, and I talk about this quite a lot, and the anniversary of these people's deaths are coming up, and it hits. You know, before the post office and Fred's would be where it's at now, there was once a park. It was called Woodland Park. Not Woodland Trailer Park, but an actual park. Now, that park did move, but there used to be a Pop Warner field there too as well. And what's really left to show the indication that there was a park there is a basketball and a tennis court that Kang's daughters owns. And the little open space field is where my two friends were found hung on a fence, and the fence, I believe, was green. And that took place in '97 on Halloween time. You know, they were kidnapped from a sexual predator partner because the other partner did escape from jail. And you know, maybe one day I'll go in depth in the story, truly in depth, with a lot of detail. But, however, they were beaten, raped, and hung behind the fence. And, you know, they lived right up the block from me. The next thing that also seems relatable to the story, again, a lot of people don't know this. And a lot of people are going to be surprised. Anybody that has heard about a Countryside Trailer Park, before the city and the town decided to make that a public place for families to live at, it was a place where the state and the city will locate sexual predators at, once registered. And it wasn't a very nice place because of that, you did have a lot of heavy STD diseases floating around there. Once they decided to open up to the public, they never told most of the families over there what it was really for and why so many people were getting sick and why some people were diagnosed with certain diseases, because the pool area was infested. You wouldn't hear about what I'm about to say, but it was definitely out there here and there, and they wanted to keep a lot of this stuff under wraps. You would hear about some of the kids and the families over there getting hurt. Or hurt in terms of the word is rape. Because they allowed families to move into something that was meant for predators. There was a woman who was a scoutmaster, and nobody knew that she was a predator. She lived over there. Me and my mother, a couple people went over there. She wanted to hold a meeting. I already knew. The people knew. But we went there with caution. Now, during this, she was on the computer. And this woman, she ain't supposed to be around kids. But nobody knew that she was a registered offender. During this process, she found out somebody that I know, that she sent pictures to. Once this found out, it got reported. And then once it got reported, she did get arrested because she violated a lot. She wasn't supposed to be around children. And then come to find out, her husband was actually fighting for custody to get the kids. And with that being said, you know, it goes to show that the law system, they failed in so many ways, because you only seem to care about if somebody escapes from jail. You never bothered to put out patrol units, especially close to the neighborhood where I once stayed at, where my friends went missing at, then ended up getting killed. The law system fucked up because you allowed families to move into a place where sexual predators had to be located at once registered. The law system fucked up Because you know this person had a history of domestic violence plus a couple of attempted murder charges since '98. Not once did they bother to go to that woman at all, to her house, to talk to her or try to protect her or ask questions. Till after it was too late, after she ended up getting killed. So the law system don't really seem to give a fuck about a lot. Especially in this town, they only care about one thing. Who's on drugs or who's doing drugs? Who's selling? But ain't nobody really selling. Everyone's mainly doing, because there's a lot of Hulu angels here. Those that don't know what Hulu angels means, it means crackhead, drug users, junkies. And like I said, you know, I was around a lot of these things. And I remember it very dearly. I remember a lot of these cases very dearly. One of them about my friends who got killed. I do have that newspaper article put away, and it's something that I don't need to look at because I was there when this shit happened. I remember it. Give me a minute, though, because I remember it very well. Just like this story that's part of this video. I remember that night when this killing took place. I heard the gunshots. I heard the sirens. I was no more than a couple of, like, 1.5 blocks away from this at night on foot. You know, I couldn't predict that this was going to happen. Nobody could. And 3 years ago, over the neighborhood where he killed his girlfriend at before taking her body and putting it right behind the Pizza Hut, some of the relatives and family over there decided to have a garage sale. You know, me and my mother, we went over there, and I told her, like, this was the place about that woman I told you about, where she died at. So that's how much detail and close to I was to this. What I remember, and things that remind me of it, and things that can tie into it. You know, in my life, you know, growing up, I've been around people with abuse charges, murder cases, attempted murders, people that shouldn't have been around kids. And, you know, it's something that never made me nervous or scared because I grew up around that. You know, again, there's things I talk about, things I don't talk about like that. And like I said, I got stories and details and prescription for days I can do. But I believe most information that I have could get me in trouble. Because I know a lot about this town's dark history and secrets, and I consider myself not just a last Colombian, but also a historical person as well for this town. And have I ever rolled with somebody that shouldn't be around people? Yeah, I do. Some people I'm glad I got rid of, like my ex-best friend. He was a woman abuser. He was a beater. And I could get into a lot of stories about him and shit that I've seen with him. Yeah. Yeah. I even know the victims of the shit he did to them. Several ex-girlfriends. One of them, mainly, he liked to get drunk a lot so he can have sex with her, and he's supposed to be in the services. You know, that is considered rape. But, hey, you know, one day if he chooses to open his mouth and pisses me off, not only do I got 2 videos left to post of him to really shut his ass up, but also I wouldn't mind doing those stories on him. Have people really looking at him. But, like I said, this is a story time video, and this is something that a video I've been wanting to do for a while. So with that being said, I'm out.